Yeah.
Or an arc. Or an arc. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
And thank you all for turning out on not a very supportive day, but never mind. Never mind. It's wonderful, isn't it? Thank you for joining us for our healing hour today. Thank you too for those people watching at home, wherever you are in the world. As you know, with these healing hours, they are a time of coming together all in the name, the essence and the energy regarding healing. So we have one of our very own healing team today to give us a little talk, the lovely Ian. Ian, thank you so much for agreeing.
Thank you. I'll hand up my back, but yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, here, it worked. So thank you. So if we can commence by just stilling our minds just for this short time, finding that space within, that link with the divine thread that works through all things. And as we gently, gently relax ourselves, allowing ourselves just to slow down for this time, we send out that petition for help, for healing. At this time, we look across this beautiful plane of existence. Each and everywhere we look, we see conflict and turmoil. We ask for healing for those who can make those changes, for those who through their acts and their words can bring about improvement and rectification for this beautiful plane of existence in which we live. And two, as we look across this wonderful world, we see so many of the world's total population lacking the things that we may even just take for granted. The access to medicines, the access to water, the access to food, the access to education. And we ask for healing energies to surround them too. And again for the people who make the decisions, who have that ability to bring about great change. And as we look further around this world, we see the wonderful natural kingdom, the flora, the fauna, magnificent animals, all the way down through the depths of the ocean, through insect life. We see this beautiful planet, a living ecosystem, each and every part dependent on the others, none greater, none lesser. And we ask for balance to be restored, that all life consider all life. We ask for that through the art of healing. And then we look to, through our friends and our families, and ourselves. And we ask for that healing to be delivered, however or wherever it may be needed, but just to bring that comfort, that relief, through our own act of compassion. And then we turn our energies into this day, this gathering, this time together. And we know that through voice, through action, through practice of our spiritual gifts, that healing will be given and received, again on whichever level is needed. So now in and through that uniting energy, we join as one now, to be here, to be present in this moment, and to understand that healing mediumship is the greatest mediumship of all. One given freely, exercised freely, just out of love. Amen. So, I would now like to hand over to Ian to talk with us today. So, Ian, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. And good afternoon to all those online. As Lawrence has just said, I'm one of the healing team members of this wonderful church. And prior to today, I was at home with my wife and I said, what am I going to talk about? You know, we're here for this healing hour, and everybody who's here has come for healing. I'm not an evidential medium, so I'm not going to give you any messages about a dog running around your feet or anti-flow coming through or anything like that, because that's not what I do. I purely have the guidance and the power, but the power that from the energy to help people through healing. So, how did it all start for me? Because I met Sue 10 years ago and knew nothing about spiritualism, and yet my mother was a wonderful medium, and but not attached to a church. And Sue said to me, "Would you like to come to church with me?" So I'm thinking, I grew up as a Church of England member of the Church of England, so I'm thinking we're going to a Church of England church, and we ended up going to this church funny enough, in Christchurch. And we sat at the back, and she said, if the medium comes to you, she said, speak clearly and loudly. And I said, if the medium comes to me, I'm out that door. Because I was terrified of the thought of somebody giving me a message on what was going to happen. And I sat there, and I was just blown away by the medium, who suddenly started talking to this particular person, and his voice changed, and then he went to somebody else, and it was just mind-blowing, and that was the hook. And at the time, we were living on the Isle of Wight, and we all come through crossroads in our lives, don't we, where we never know quite what to do when we get to those crossroads. Do we turn left, do we turn right, do we go straight on, do we swivel around and go back the way we came? And it was a bit Groundhog Day for me, so I didn't really, I was enjoying the work I was doing, but I wasn't enjoying the work I was doing, if that doesn't sound crazy, but it was the same old every day. So we went to see a medium, a private medium. The first thing she said to me was, do you know you're a healer? So I said, what are you on about? I don't, I hadn't got a clue what she was meant. So we then visited a church on the island, and one of the mediums was going around doing his bit, and he goes, can I come to you, sir? And it was me. Oh, he said, you're a healer, aren't you? So I'm thinking, crikey, I've been told twice now. So I pursued it. And if someone had said to me 10, 15 years ago, you'll be standing on a platform in Poole Church talking about healing, I'd have said, on your bike, mate, off it, because you're talking sort of rubbish. I won't, and yet here I am. So how did I get from there to here? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think I'm surrounded by so many healers in this room already, and people I'm very happy to be part of this church with. And we sit in a circle on a Monday night, and we talk prior to helping the people that come through the doors. And we all have our own little different ways of working, and yet we're all working with one universal energy. And I remember many years ago, growing up in Liverpool, there was the Bishop of Liverpool was a guy called David Shepherd, and he was the Bishop of Liverpool in the 80s when Mrs. Thatcher was in power, and his arch cathedral opponent, if that's the word, from the Catholic Church was the Archbishop Derek Warlock, and the two of them used to walk arm in arm with each other around Liverpool. And they became very, very good friends, even though their religions were not polar opposites, but on different pathways. And they were actually wonderful healers. And I remember a radio interview with him, And somebody said, you know, you've been a fantastic cricketer all your life. Why didn't you follow the going down the presenting and speaking about cricket as a pundit on the radio or whatever? And he said, I had a calling. And he said the calling was to the ministry. And he started off as a minister and ended up a bishop and became Bishop of Liverpool. And I feel as if, you know, I've had a calling to do healing. And I've spoken to a number of members in this church, and they've all said the same. What drags us here? And it's wanting to help people, wanting to be of some assistance. Now, people walk through the door, we don't know what their ailments are. And I don't, and I know most of us in the room, don't say that we can make the lame walk and make the deaf hear or make the blind see. But we can certainly help these people on their path through life, even if we're not the be end and all of making them walk again or hear again or see again. So the evidential or the evidence of the healing that I find when I've given healing to people is when they thank me, and when they say a couple of days later, do you know, last time I came here I had a terrible headache, and you know, I walked out of here without an absolute, you know, 20/20 vision. My headache had gone. It was wonderful. And that to me is a reassurance that I know that the healing works, because the majority of us don't actually ask the patient, the client, or whatever you want to call the person that's come in for healing, what their issues are. But guess what? You know, the healing goes to where it needs to go. And, you know, we're just conduits. We are just the channel to pass the energy through. Some of us have a stronger energy than others, and some of us have different energies, which don't necessarily be in a strength form, but it can just work in different ways for different people. And I've had some instances where I've given somebody healing, and then 2 or 3 days later the ladies rang me up and said, well, rang my wife up and said, guess what? Ian gave healing, and he's so much better, and he's more focused. I haven't actually cured him. We haven't, you know, the spirits haven't cured him, but they've put him in a mindset that's helped him move forward with his life. And that's a form of healing. So it's not all about hands-on and, you know, making people feel better and walking out the door with a straight back because they've come in with a back pain. And I also say to people as well, when this last 2 years where we've had COVID, I've done quite a lot of healing from home. And I've had people, you know, the other side of the country, or and I've said, like, go into a quiet room, sit down, relax, and I'll focus on you, and you can focus on me. And I'll ring you back in 20 minutes, half an hour. And the amount of times people have turned around and said, God, you know, how does this work? So I said, well, have you got a telephone? And they go, yeah. I said, right, if I want to make a phone call to you, there's no lead coming out the bottom of the telephone, is there? So there's a radio wave from that telephone that goes thousands of miles up into the sky to a satellite and bounces back down again, and you receive the call. You turn the radio on, and you're listening to Ken Bruce on Radio 2, and he's playing the music from London, but you can hear it in your car, and you can hear it in your house. And it's just radio waves. So that's exactly how I perceived that the absent healing or the distant healing is transmitted to people. There's a number of members here who know that my ex-wife is struggling with cancer at the moment, and we've been sending her love and healing. When I rang her and I said, just put yourself in a nice, comfortable place, sit down, relax, and I'll ring you back, you know, in half an hour. And I rang her back, and I said, by the way, I said, are you lying on your bed in your bedroom? She said, I am actually. I said, oh, good. And I said, you're lying on the right-hand side that's close to the window, aren't you? Yes, she said, how do you know that? I said, I don't know how I know it, but I'm just getting a vision that that's where you are. Because I've never been to her house. Why would I? And sure enough, she got off the bed and her pains and her aches and everything subsided. Now, we're not here to cure it. We know we can't cure those things necessarily, but giving the help and just the reassurance is a form of healing. And the fact that I could describe what was going on in her bedroom, or where she was in her bedroom, actually spooked her a bit, because she thought, well, how could you know that? And I said, well, I don't know how I could know that, but I've just relayed that to you as a message. And it was interesting, and she now, you know, on a Monday night, we sit round and members of the team here all send healing to her, and yeah, she's going through the process of recovery, hopefully. I just want to ask anybody, does anybody have any questions about healing that they don't already know about, or don't really have sort of specifics about what we do? Because at the end of the day, we are all different the way we heal. We are all individuals, but we work with guides. We work with different people. And the people that we work with have passed over. And, you know, I won't be working with a dustman or a window cleaner, but I'll be working with an oncologist or an orthodontic surgeon, or different people who can help me, because the people that know Brian Walker, who is a trance healer, you know, he's said to us that, you know, you've got 4 or 5 people working with you, because when that person comes to the door and wants some healing, you don't know what they need, but the people with you can step forward who can give that healing specifically to that person. And it's interesting, isn't it, that, you know, this happens, and it's only, you know, weeks later or days later or whenever it is, months later, that someone comes up to you and said, do you know what, when you gave me healing, or when the healing was given to us, you know, I couldn't do this and now I can do that. And that's a real sort of reassurance for me that I know it works. People have asked me, you know, how do I get any colours, or do I get any messages? Well, we're not supposed to give messages because we're not doctors, you know. But at the same instance, I can be sitting there with my hands on somebody's shoulders, and I could be thinking about the football match at the weekend, or going down the pub later with my mates, and I've got no way of feeling that there's something happening. And then there's other times when I've got colours flashing across my eyes, and I've got my arms sort of as if I'm playing the piano on somebody's shoulders. My fingers aren't moving, but I just feel as if I'm playing, you know, a piano. And I feel tingling in my arms. And yet I'm still probably giving the same kind of healing to that person as the person that I'm thinking about the football about, or having a beer with my mates, because that's just the way it works. And I've had too much evidence to know that when I don't get the feelings of the fingers moving or the colour across my eyes, I know it's still working. And I've had that feedback, which always helps. So, and I can see people nodding because they're all got the same messages that comes through to them. And sometimes you think, gosh, is it working? Is it working? And I just know it is. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm quite happy to answer them.
It's not so much a question, it's just having experience, having had healing here and other places, it kind of, to me, and I've got cancer, so I do all kinds of other stuff to help me keep in a good way, which is equilibrium, which is balance, whether that's spiritual, emotional, physical. You know, if those three are, and if there are more, please tell me, but if they're not in balance, then that's a way of describing dis-ease or disease in somebody. And I just found that it's always, I see it as an assistance towards balance, towards health. When you say about we can't cure the cancer, or we can't do that. We pretty much in the universe, we could do anything we wanted to, given the strength of the vibration. That's how I feel.
No, I think you're right.
But the healing is medicine in a way. It's spiritual medicine that helps you find the space to heal within. That's how I describe it to myself.
I've come to this healing sanctuary on many occasions, and some of the healers have turned around and said to me, do you know what, I actually need some healing tonight. And you know, we as healers give each other some healing. And actually when I give healing, and I love giving healing now, it's as if it's just God-given right to me that I must be, got to go down and give some healing. I know that I get some healing when I'm healing somebody else, because the energies are coming through me. So guess what? Some of it's going to rub off on me, isn't it? And, you know, I remember Mark Stone standing up here a few months ago talking about healers, and he turned around and said that, do you know, there's a lot of healers out there that need healing as well, who aren't fit and healthy people. And I think as healers, we've got to be of a certain level of healthiness to be giving healing ourselves, because if we're not well, how can we be helping somebody else who's not well? And I think that's a very valid point, that there has to be an element of us being sort of fairly fit and strong people to carry on through this healing journey. So, please.
I think something interesting to ask. Have you found over the years since you started that your energy has changed?
Yeah, I think it does. I when I first started, my enthusiasm was like an overflowing cup. I just couldn't, guess what, I can help people and all this. Whereas now I'm a little bit more subdued about it, and when I'm giving healing, I'm focused and everything. But I think my energies did change from the very first time when I started that pathway, because when I did the SNU training, which is a 2-year course, and I find it very difficult to understand how people could potentially do this 2-year course now, because it's very much a tick box exercise, and I think that really and truthfully there should be other ways of encouraging people to come along and do healing, and we certainly do that here at this church. And the healers that I was working with, or were helping me on my path, they said, oh, you can start healing. So I said, well, when can I start healing? Well, you've been told you can heal now. But the rules and regulations and the codes of conduct and the rights and wrongs need to be taught to you, and you also need to attune and learn how to attune and all this, which, in all fairness, is what I did take on board. But in the very early days, my mother was very ill in a nursing home, and Sue and I went to visit her, and I'd been given a message from a medium, and he stood there and he went, oh, I've got this person who can't talk, and my mother had had a stroke and she was totally unable to speak. And we went to visit her, and Sue said to me, she said, give your mum some healing. And she was on the bed, she'd been given medicine, and she was out for the count. So we sat there and had a cup of tea, and I thought, well, we'll go and come back and visit her tomorrow, because she was on the mainland, and we were staying over. So I gave her some healing, and we went, and the following day came back. When we came back the next day, she's sitting up in bed, and as I walked through the door, out came this garbled jibba jibba bob jabba jabba, looked like this, because that's all she could say. She thought she was saying hello to me or whatever, and I said, hi Mum, lovely to see you. So anyhow, the carer said, I'll leave your mum with you. I said, yeah, that's great. And Sue said to me, give your mum some healing while she's awake now. And my mum was profoundly deaf. She was 91 years old, and she had no glasses on because she'd had her cataracts done. And she followed me around the bed, and she had no deaf aids in. And I went to her, Mum, I've been told to give you some healing. And without a word of a lie, as I stand here, she said, who by? As succinct as that. And she hadn't spoken a word in 12 months. except for a bidgy bobby body and all that garbled stuff that they come out with people who've had strokes. And Sue went, "Oh my goodness, you know, your mum spoke," and then I said, and I held her hands and I said, "Mum, I've been going to a spiritist church and I've been told to give you healing." And I won't repeat the next word that she said because it was. But she went, "Oh my goodness," all words to that effect. "Well, you know, I've been a medium all my life," and then she went blibby-bobbly back into her thing again. And as we got in the car and went home, Sue said to me, "If you wanted evidence, you just got it tonight." And I have never looked back from that day. And they were the very early days of my path on healing. So I know I've had the evidence. And, you know, even from my own mother, and, you know, bless her, she's passed away now. And those 3 years that she was in the nursing home, she didn't want to be there. And she did her damnedest to tell us that she didn't want to be there, but she couldn't speak. But she needed 24-hour care. And when she passed in the December, the January, I went to the church on my own. And I got a message from the platform. And it had gone to 8 o'clock, and they normally finished at 8 in the evening. And she turned around and they turned around and said, "We've got time for a quick one." And she went, "Ian, can I come to you at the back? I've got a lady here. She wants to thank you for the last 3 years." Yeah. She never said who it was, but I knew who it was. And I just thought, wow, you know. And it's only when you get those messages yourself, it makes you realise that, guess what? It's working. And it is, and it does. So thank you for the question. Oh, gosh, okay. More questions now. Sorry about this, it was only supposed to be 10 minutes, but we're doing all right. Carry on, Ted.
I'm not a healer.
You are?
Yes, you are.
Well, you say that. But I haven't done any course in healing.
You don't need to do courses.
Well, I've got a list of 5 people who I know are ill, and I sit still for about 10 minutes a day to try and send the healing to them. Yeah. Am I wasting my time?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, if anything, that just enhances what we're talking about. Because everybody's a healer. The problem is the people who aren't, who don't realise they're healers, are healers. And that's the key to the, because I didn't know I was a healer. And the evidence I've had that I've helped people proves to me that I can help through the energies that come through me. Because all you are is a conduit, a channel to be used. And clearly the spirit world want to use you, Ted, to pass that sort of energy to those 5 people.
They don't know.
They don't need to know. They don't need to know.
Them.
Sorry?
I've never told them.
You don't need to, Ted.
The act of giving.
It's the love that you're sending out to them and the healing. And it will work and it will help them. And as I said, it may not, you know, these people may be of a similar age to you, they may be younger than you, and whatever their illnesses are, you're not necessarily going to cure the illness, but you might put them at a lot more ease and a lot more peace than what they're at the moment. And that's another form of healing. It's not about physically jumping out of a wheelchair and walking, because that doesn't happen, you know.
No.
But you know, you could be giving a lot of help without realising it.
Yeah. I'll just try.
No, you must do it. Don't stop doing what you're doing, because it will be working and it will be helping. Sorry.
Have you found that when you're channeling a lot more and you channel a lot more energy, because obviously then going into your aura, that you suddenly attract other people and animals and anything else to you wouldn't expect, and likewise that aura kind of repels other people you thought were friends, suddenly other people kind of disappear out of your life because your energy when you're healing doesn't resonate with them as well. So you'd be sitting there and suddenly a cat come by, or someone who comes talk to you, you don't realise they've been attracted by your energy for that healing.
I've personally never experienced that, but I'm not saying that doesn't happen. There are times when I've been in here with Lawrence, I've brought friends over from the island, and there was a chap, his wife was ill, and she's recovering, and she came here specifically for healing. But actually, her husband was the one who needed the healing more than she did, because he was like a spring to coil. And I remember Lawrence coming up to her and just put his hand on his shoulder. Do you remember Lawrence? And he was unaware that Lawrence was actually giving him some healing. And we were just sitting chatting like we're doing now, but he had his hand on his shoulder. And I could see that what was taking place. So you do pick up vibes that you're helping somebody, and an animal will come up to you if it needs. Animals are very, very perceptive about illnesses and things. How often do you see dogs who will come up to people and they'll cuddle up to them because they know that there's something wrong and they're there to protect them. Same thing. It's yeah.
But likewise, they can also sense it from you as well.
Of course they do. They sense it as well.
Take
Yeah.
it from you.
Yeah.
I always cite, those of you remember Charlie, my cat. Charlie turned up on the windowsill one day with this abscess the size of a balloon, and there was no reason, well, there's no, what we would do in an earthly term as a logical reason. But when you look at it, he's got all these houses along the road. We're up on the first floor. We're not on the ground floor, we're on the first floor. So he's hopped up on the fence, hopped over on the roof, climbed over on the roof, jumped up on the windowsill and basically gone, well, I'm here and I know you're going to help me. Yeah. So, animals are, and sorry to take over.
No, not at all. That's fine.
We sat in a pub and this dog came over and I was working, unconsciously working on the dog. Oh, I said, you've got a bad hip, fella. And the woman mummy of the dog, went, how do you know that? I said, it was just told me. And she went, I suppose you're a dog whisperer. And I went, yeah, in a way I am. She said, well, he's got a really bad hip. And I said, no, I know. And he's telling me he's got a really bad hip. There's nothing there. You can come in on a little doggy crutch. But if you attune yourself, if we drift over into evidential mediums, we see some working at one standard and think that's fine, and then we see the ones who've really gone that extra mile, that extra distance to finally attune themselves, and they come out with amazing stuff. So it's all about your own development as well, no matter what your mediumship is. If you're a healing medium, evidential medium, philosophical medium, whatever your mediumship is, just keep attuning yourself, asking for more. And the people and the animals and the places and the situations that will resonate and work well with your healing will come into your life. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about just connecting and attuning, as Lawrence quite rightly says. So. Well, if there's no other questions, I'll thank you very much. I've gone well over the 10 minutes that you allocated.
I have noticed.
Yeah, it won't happen again, officer.
Oh, it will.
Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for it.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much, Ian. We are really, really centred on healing at this church, and it's all these different avenues. It matters not that there's a load of healers in there. Everything that you've said has resonated with people both here and online, and encouraged to carry on with their healing journey. So thank you, Ian. We're going to do a short meditation before we hand over to our wonderful team of healers here at Paul Church. So if you get yourself nice and comfy, just take in that breath, let it exhale, just open up your senses, your energy, your heart, your soul, your spirit. And during this time of meditation, I would like to invite you, please, if you wish to put somebody's name forward for healing, please just raise your hand, and when I point at you, just call out that name. That's all you need to do. We don't need to know the condition, the location. We just need that name vibration to work with. So as we gently just go into this time, just allow that love to flow, because love is healing. Divine and infinite Spirit, God of our own understanding, we thank you for this time, this space, this energy, to be here to celebrate that knowledge that life is continual and that the two worlds should never be separated. But the path of everything is the two worlds can walk as one, so we do not experience that loss, that grief, that suffering, but we allow ourselves to blend with those of our ancestors, our loved ones, our animal kingdom, to channel through and support and progress life here in the physical. Amen.
Amen.
Before we hand over to our healing team, just a few notices. Tomorrow, Brian Walker is with us all day. His appointments now are fully booked. However, in the evening, he will be giving a talk on his journey as a trance healer, and there'll be questions and answers and a demonstration of that during the course of the evening. That starts at 7 o'clock, and there is a fee payable on the door of £8. Friday, just a reminder for those who have booked a session with Fiona Parry Dodd, just a reminder, it is this Friday, she is with us. Saturday we see the start of Darren Turner's 6-part course on psychism. Pleased to say that is now fully subscribed, so we commence this Saturday. Sunday morning at 11 a.m. we welcome David Powell, CSNU, who will be taking our Divine service. Next Wednesday at 3 p.m. we have Carla Hain and a guest coming with her to take a Divine service here at 3 p.m. A bit further afield, Saturday the 9th of April, we have a dance. No, we don't have a dance demonstration. We have a trance demonstration. We have a trance demonstration. Well, we can dance to trance, can't you? There you go. With Mark Stone. That's on Saturday the 9th of April at 7 o'clock. And again, a fee payable on the door of £8. Saturday the 16th of April, 12 o'clock for 1 o'clock sit down, we have a Psychic Ploughman's. And we welcome from the world of the internet mediums, Deb Clark and Sarah Warman, who will be here in person to demonstrate, alongside our very own Andy Ford. Tickets are on sale now, so if you see me or any other volunteers within the church, we will sort you out with a ticket. Online, we have meditations Saturday morning at 9 o'clock and Monday evening at 7 o'clock. Sometimes these need to be pre-recorded because my duties are calling me into the church, but they are always on. This Saturday night we link up with Adam Osborne from the British Spiritist Association, and he's going to be talking with us about the Spiritist approach to healing. So it'd be quite nice to compare notes and see how it's done in other followings. So that concludes the notices. All you wonderful people at home, I'll be turning the camera off shortly because we are now going to hand over to our healing team to work their magic. So thank you everybody, it's been beautiful and I loved that healing meditation. I think we might be doing a little bit more of that. I think that was beautiful. Thank you. Everybody at home, wonderful day, thank you.